Welcome everyone to WarThunder Histories episode 3, and today we're going to be talking about the F4 Phantom II. We're going to be talking a little bit about her design and development, some of the history behind the aircraft, some of the statistics, and then we're going to talk about how she handles in-game and how I think you should play her. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy. Originating in 1953, McDonnell Aircraft, later to be known as McDonnell Douglas, began work on revising their F3H Demon design, with the intent to increase its capabilities and performance. Developing several projects which included both single and twin-engine designs, one even being powered by two General Electric J79 engines, which would promise a top speed of Mach 1.97. In September of 1953, McDonnell approached the US Navy with a proposal for a Super Demon, which had a very unique modular design. The design would be able to mount single and twin-seat cockpits, nose cones that could mount a variety of cannons, cameras, radar, and rockets, depending on the mission needs. Whilst the aircraft could operate at supersonic speeds, the United States Navy initially rejected the design, reasoning that they already had aircraft to satisfy the supersonic need. Determined, McDonnell again reworked the design from a supersonic fighter to an all-weather fighter-bomber, increasing the number of external hardpoints from 9 to 11. On October 18, 1954, McDonnell received an order for two prototypes, designated YAH-1. Then on May 26th of 1955, 4 US Navy officers gave the company a new set of requirements, only an hour after the start of their review. This required McDonnell to produce an all-weather fleet defense interceptor. This included adding a second crewman to operate a powerful nose-mounted radar. The new design, designated XF4H-1, was designed to carry 4 semi-recessed Sparrow radar-guided missiles under its belly, along with being powered by 2 General Electric J79 GE8 engines. These were mounted low in the fuselage to maximise internal fuel capacity. The engines would ingest air from 2 enormous air intakes mounted either side of the rear cockpit. The wings were given a leading edge sweep of 45 degrees, along with blown flaps to improve low-speed handling. The wing also received a distinctive dogtooth to improve stability at high angles of attack. After wind tunnel testing, lateral instability determined a need for a 5-degree dihedral be designed into the entire wing. McDonnell instead opted to only angle the outer portion of the wing by 12 degrees to avoid an entire redesign. This ended up averaging the 5-degree requirement over the entire wing. The all-moving tailplane was given a 23-degree anhedral, whilst also keeping it above the engine exhausts, this all leading to the distinctive shape of the Phantom. The all-weather interceptor capability was achieved by installing the AN/APQ-50 radar, and for carrier operations the landing gear was designed to withstand a sink rate of 23 feet per second, along with adding a tail hook just rear of the exhausts. On July 25, 1955, the US Navy ordered 2 XF4H-1 test aircraft and 5 pre-production examples. The prototype made its maiden flight on May 25, 1958. After further testing, it was decided to add bleed holes and variable geometry ramps to direct airflow properly in and out of the engine if excessive air built up, primarily to optimize supersonic flight. Initially, naming of the aircraft was between Demon and Mithras. It would eventually land on the less controversial Phantom, leading to Phantom II since McDonnell already had designed an aircraft named Phantom in the years prior. Early in production, what would become the F4A, a more powerful radar was installed. The canopy was also redesigned to improve visibility, and the rear cockpit was made less claustrophobic. It is also important to note that initially the F4 was not designed with any kind of offensive armament, relying on external munitions such as the AIM-9 Sidewinder heat-seeking missile and AIM-7 Sparrow radar-guided missile. The Phantom entered service with the US Navy in 1960, later the Marine Corps in 1962 and Air Force in 1963. Liking the design and capability of the Phantom, the US Air Force quickly became its primary user. The aircraft had a very impressive stat card. The 2 General Electric engines provided around 17,000 pounds of thrust, achieving a maximum speed of around 1,400 miles per hour. The aircraft had a maximum sustained ceiling of just shy of 60,000 feet and provisions to carry around 18,000 pounds of external munitions, giving it a staggering max takeoff weight of 58,000 pounds. The Navy and Marine Corps operated the Phantom with a pilot in the front seat and a RIO, or Radar Intercept Officer, in the back. The Radar Intercept Officer primarily operated the large radar mounted in the nose of the aircraft. Initially, the Air Force operated a 2-pilot configuration, with the back seat, or GIB meaning guy in the back, could fly and land but with less instruments and terrible visibility. This would soon be abandoned in favour of placing a Weapons System Officer, or WISO, who would work the same as the Navy's RIO. The first recorded engagement of a Phantom against enemy aircraft was a US Air Force F-4C over Vietnam, when it used an AIM-9 Sidewinder to down a North Vietnamese MiG-17 in July of 1965. Variants of F-4 served throughout the Vietnam War, in operations such as Operation Rolling Thunder as a bomber, and notably Operation Bolo, where US Air Force F-4Cs lured North Vietnamese aircraft into a trap, flying known bomber flight paths disguised as F-105 Thunder Chiefs. Quickly during the Vietnam War, weaknesses in the Phantom's design were found. Primarily, the lack of an internal gun meant that North Vietnamese pilots could slow down for an approaching Phantom so that they were too close to engage with missiles. To substitute this issue, the Phantom would be given a 20mm gun pod to substitute its need. It wouldn't be until the F-4E that a gun would be designed into the nose. The aircraft was also retrofitted with an RWR, or radar warning receiver, to alert crews to radar-guided threats and flare pods to defend against heat-seeking missiles. Throughout the Vietnam War, the US operated the F-4B, C, D, and E, each having design tweaks to substitute issues in the previous designs. With such a wide variety of roles the Phantom could fulfill, it made it very attractive to the international market. Outside of the US, the Royal Navy and Royal Air Force would operate variants of the F-4J, redesignated FG-1 and FGR-2 until 1992, being one of the largest international operators. Other countries such as Greece, Spain, Japan, South Korea, and more also operated the Phantom, with Iran and Greece still operating variants of the Phantom today. The US ceased all combat operations of the F-4 in 1996, and in 2016 they ended service as target drones. In total, over 5,000 Phantoms will be produced between 1958 and 1981, making the Phantom arguably one of the most successful US-built aircraft ever. The Phantom set a number of records for its time. On December 6, 1959, the XF-4H-1 prototype achieved a zoom climb from 47,000 feet to 90,000 feet after accelerating to Mach 2.5 and climbing at a 45-degree angle. In 1961, a production variant achieved a sustained altitude of 66,443.8 feet. And in early 1962, a Phantom achieved a time-to-altitude record to 98,400 feet in just 371.43 seconds. If you'd like to see a Phantom fly, I recommend you go to the Royal International Air Tattoo at RAF Fairford, where Greek Phantoms will fly every year. So how does the F-4C specifically fare in game, and how should you play it? The F-4C is a Rank 7 battle rating 10.3 US jet. Unloaded, the F-4C has a top speed of 1,422 miles per hour at 40,000 feet, a maximum altitude of 52,480 feet with a climb rate of 33,858 feet per minute. It also has a turn time of 26 seconds, with a need for 2,788 feet of runway. With good acceleration and top speed, use this to your advantage. With such a slow turn time, avoid any and all turn fights, as most aircraft at 10.3 that aren't Phantoms will outturn you. With top-tier jet battles almost always being mixed, you will more than likely be fighting other Phantoms anyway, so keeping your speed and knowing when to engage and when to disengage is important. With a large array of weaponry, the F-4C in-game can both engage ground targets and air targets without having to land to change loadout. Personally, my favourite loadout to bring on the F-4C is 12 500-pound bombs along with 4 AIM-9Bs along with the 20mm Vulcan gun pod. Although the AIM-9B isn't the best missile, after bombing any bases it gives me an option to engage enemy aircraft if there is a need to or if the opportunity permits. My reasoning behind this loadout is it seems to be easier to gain RP in Silver Lions by bombing bases and then engaging air targets if possible. Bringing AIM-9Es and the 20mm gun pod, you can freely engage enemy aircraft. However, on the F-4C, you can only bring the AIM-9Bs with an assortment of bombs and rockets. Whereas with other variants of Phantom, you can bring better missiles with more bombs. When using the AIM-9B or E, always try to fire within a mile and a mile and a half to maximise their effectiveness. Although the missile has a range of over 2 miles, be aware that the enemy may turn and use countermeasures if they have time to react. Also note that especially the AIM-9B does not track well into a turn, therefore you should fire your missile when the aircraft is flying in a straight line. And finally, always be aware of what is ahead of your target. If you fire a missile and the enemy turns out of the way of the missile, your missile can indeed track friendly aircraft. In-game, there are currently 4 variants of Phantom. The US has the F-4C and F-4E, Britain has the Phantom FGR-2, and Japan has the F-4EJ, all with unique traits and varied loadouts. At top tier, always bear in mind that the F-4C does not have flares. It does however have an RWR to warn you if an enemy aircraft is tracking you on their radar. Overall, the F-4s in general are very fun to fly, however it's almost like flying a school bus with a rocket strapped to it. Although the F-4C isn't the best Phantom in game, it is very capable against other variants of F-4. The F-4C also doesn't get a ballistic computer, meaning that your air-to-ground capabilities are hampered in comparison with the F-4E that does get one. The aircraft is very, very fun to fly. I do recommend that you grind towards it if you can. Just before we end here, I'd like to thank Big, Chasma and Golden for helping me get this footage together and letting me shoot them down constantly. I'd also like to thank my subscribers for suggesting this aircraft in this video. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Please like, comment and subscribe if you have, and of course, if you didn't, dislike. If there's a vehicle in WarThunder you want to be featured in the series, please leave it in the comment section below. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.